one little, when he gets excited, which he does when he's sticking a knife in somebody, his head kind of gets thin and grows a little bit, kind of like a cerebral erection. Now I've got to put this leg around like this because he's in a kind of a presentation stance. So his left leg crosses around to the right and fits over like that. If you want, I can explain what I'm doing here.
Yes, please do.
Well, what I'm working on here, this is an introductory sequence for a book that's going to be about 430 pages long when it's finished. It's going to comprise 400-page Frank books plus this introduction. And every Frank story I've ever done introduces a new character. And in this case, it's this guy. He's something of a magician, so when he makes his entrance, he does it in reverse perspective. The farther away he is, the bigger he is. And the closer he gets, the smaller he is. And here you can see he's a difficult person to get the mind around. He's very confusingly put together. But he comes in and he introduces himself and he shakes Frank's hand, and as often happens when you shake hands with a magician, there's something in his hand afterwards, and then it just disappears. And Frank thinks this is wonderful, and the guy takes his bows, and here's a close-up of the guy's face so you can see his little tiny slit of an eye, which is not so visible in the other shots. Here he's reaching into his placket or whatever he's wearing, and he pulls out a little change purse, and then he accidentally, on purpose, drops it. Frank reaches to pick it up, but he can't pick it up. It's too heavy. And so this is the scene referred to in this drawing. The guy reaches into the purse and starts pulling out all kinds of things and flinging them into the air, and they fly away. And then the purse is empty. And Frank is astonished and pleased. Then the magician produces a sort of a thread which is coiled up, and he flings it into the air, and it goes up into the sky, and then a wheel appears at the top of it and rolls down. And the magician gets the wheel and he sets it on top of Frank's head, and it fits down over his head and kind of is vacuum formed to it, and his face goes through these permutations as the wheel is absorbed into his skin and changes as it does. And at the end of it, Frank is his old self. And then the magician starts pulling knives. He's got this thing in his back that is stuffed with knives. That's how he carries them around. And he's, in the sequence here, he takes all these knives and he just sticks Frank as full of knives as he can, as many knives as he can hold. But he's not hurt. And he slices him up, but Frank doesn't fall to pieces or anything. He's fine. And that's the penultimate magic trick this guy performs in this sequence. This character is important. He makes a reappearance hundreds of pages later in a way that contextualizes the events that have already taken place. That leg looks so wrong, but in the context of this guy, it's right. That's a hard thing to do, draw something that's deliberately wrong and get it right and still have it not look wrong. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I don't know why it's important to me, but I don't want anybody to be able to get a read on the anatomy of his lower body. That's an intrinsic part of this character. Now I've got Frank. After all this messing around, I have Frank standing about here. See, Frank is 3 heads tall. So if I really am having trouble composing him, I'll draw out the 3 head length so that he'll fit right into the frame. I got to put his hand up here so that you don't obscure Pupshaw, and Pupshaw's reaction to him being filled with knives is, well, I'll have her over here even taller, maybe wavy too, to show that she's really reacting, so I'll lower her here. So it's 1, 2, 3. And this scene here will just be Frank standing with all his knives in him. Except I think I made him too tall again. Hold on. Yes, I did. Almost 3/8 of an inch too tall. It's amazing how little tiny tolerances can have a big effect. Just you have to know how to draw the same character over and over again so that he looks the same in any posture. You have to be able to deal with proportion and perspective and storytelling and caricature and all kinds of things, you know. It's a very complicated art form. Still not right. See the arm. The arm needs to thrust forward like that. Follow through. No, it doesn't look right either. I'm trying to get, you know, there's a question here of what does it feel like when you shove a knife into Frank? We know he has intestines. Does he have bones? Yes, he does, because J.R. Williams drew a picture of his skeleton once. But I like to think that it's kind of like sticking a knife into soft ice cream, almost, not too soft. Like leather-covered ice cream. And you know, it's not like he has to really exert himself to push a knife into that, so he's just sort of doing it. I don't know. Kind of groping for an understanding of what it is I'm doing here. I should put a crease in here, one of those knives with the wavy blades, just to give it a little bit of visual interest. One of the things that I really do like about this work is drawing Frank and the pups. I could draw them day in and day out. So, you know, I like this posture here. If I were going to redesign Frank, I would make his feet smaller. But unfortunately, his feet are also one head long. And they're always in the way of everything. It's really hard to show everybody's feet in the same panel. Frank's take up so much room. Well, you can see the process here. Most of the panel layouts that I do start out looking like this. I mean, one of the things that's always really disturbed me about the way that I work is I've got no ability to do a quick on-model, nice drawing. My drawings always start out very, very rough and have to be refined from that standpoint. Oh, sorry about that. Come on, you better get down and go away, huh? Sorry. So, well, the process is you know, I'm not a classically trained artist or cartoonist, so every time I sit down to draw, it's a voyage of rediscovery for me. I'm never quite sure of what I'm doing. All of the things that should be second nature to me are not. So
things like what?
Well, like having an innate understanding of composition, of proportion, of what's important and what's not important. I have to do a lot of fumbling around before I come up with a composition that does what I want it to do. And I have a subjective set of criteria for what I want. It bothers me to have, for example, just part of a character in the panel. I want to have every character in every panel all the time. And I don't like for things to be behind other things. That's my characters tend to stand with their arms out like this so that you can see where both arms are. And it gives it kind of an Egyptian quality, but what I want more than anything else is for the images to read quickly and clearly and to have a solidity that puts the viewer's mind at ease so that they can just take in what's happening and move on, because what is happening is complex and hard to understand enough of the time that I don't want people to have to contend with anything that's unclear in the way of expressing it. I really wish I were quicker, but I'm just not. And every time I try to work quicker, I can't do it. I wish that I could, like Jack Davis or R. Crumb, put down a simple, just diagrammatic pencil and then do the rest of the drawing in ink over it, but I can't. I have to draw every single line in pencil before I can ink it. So
you jump from panel to panel.
Well, in the case of this, where there's a continuity thing I have to keep an eye on, I'm going to end up having to do this page over.
Are we too distracting?
Well, no, it's not that at all. It's just that's it's par for the course for me. I frequently do pages over again because it takes me so long to get to the point that I want to get at. See, now I've got this idea. I wanted to have Pupshaw have kind of a wavery flame quality because she's so shocked, but now that doesn't work. It doesn't work. She wouldn't be that way. She wouldn't just be freaking out. She'd be angry. She'd be in protective mode. But in this case, she knows that she's completely outgunned by this guy, so she wouldn't put a knife in his, go into his hand. So she just has to watch, horrified. So I'll just make her a little bigger. Yeah, that's not right either. I'm going to have to refine that. Not working out. I'll leave her alone for the time being. This guy, I don't know if he's repulsive or attractive, but I like him. I've added I think I already mentioned this, but every Frank story I've ever done introduces a new character. Although I don't think this one has got much staying power. He's wearing a really ludicrous set of clothes. He's got these kind of fringed epaulets on his shoulders. He's got this really nicely embroidered shirt with kind of Byronic cuffs.
Does he take the place of Wim in any way?
Oh, no. Wim is purely malevolent. This guy is actually a good influence in the world.
Is Wim malevolent?
Oh, God, yeah. Wim is a monster. He's really bad. His role in the Unifactor is to be evil, but it's controlled by the Unifactor. He's not allowed to do the things he would really like to do.
Because he's the devil form, I always assumed at first that evil was his primary motivation, but as a whole, reading it, it seems he comes across more of like an amoral scientist to me, kind of in love with all the things that he can do and not really caring what happens.
Well, isn't that evil?
Is it?
isn't it? To be an amoral scientist and, you know, pump horse blood into POWs or whatever amoral scientists do in their spare time.
Is amorality the equivalent of evil then?
I guess it depends on whether you're on the giving or the receiving end. I don't think that people who do terrible, terrible things walk around going, oh, I'm so bad, I'm so evil. I think they probably think there's a good reason for what they're doing. You would think by now that I could draw Frank just like falling off a log. And once I get up to speed, I will be able to, I guess, because I haven't drawn him for a while. It's always a little bit hard to get back into it. So now that I've got that figured out, all I have to do is draw 130 pages of comics and just put it all together. There's something really pathetic about setting out and wanting to express your view of the cosmos in cartoons. But I guess the reason that I do it is because the first heavy images that I saw that really changed my thinking about what a person could do in the world were cartoons. Yeah, well, so back to it. You have any questions? Was I clear? Did I explain everything adequately?